Hi, I'm actor Deb Marmon. Australian Story first met my mate, Leah Purcell, 20 years ago as her star was on the rise. Growing up poor in regional Queensland, Leah's career options seemed limited, but her dream, hard work and support from the love of her life helped her become one of the most successful actors and writers in the country. Now, she's directed her most ambitious project yet, weaving her family story into an epic film about a frontier woman surviving against all odds. A bit like Leah herself.
It's a little paint palette.
It really is.
I wasn't brought up on my traditional lands. I wasn't brought up with language. I wasn't brought up with cultural practice. So, as a contemporary Indigenous woman, I've had to create my dreaming, my songlines, and I feel I've done that through my art, through my storytelling. I don't come to block anything, darling, not till I put it on and go, oh no, it's not as awesome fantastic as I thought it might look.
All right.
Whether she's an actor or a filmmaker, the storytelling is the key for her. She can't not tell stories. It's in her DNA.
Excellent, where we're going tonight? Bane's away, grandkids are all away.
None of Leah's success surprises me. Of course it was going to happen.
And he went back, chin up a little bit.
She doesn't just open the door, she kicks it off its hinges in terms of creating opportunities.
Lily, stop it. My mother never had a voice. My grandmother never had a voice.
She got me committed.
That's enough.
And you know why she got me committed?
And I am in a time in my life where I've got all these vehicles to be loud, to be proud, to push the agendas that I want to push. You're a smart, young, beautiful black woman with a whole future ahead of you. And people can say no to me, but I won't accept it. I don't take no or can't. I won't, I refuse.
Leah!
Hey, what?
Leah's a polymath. She's somebody that's untrained. She never went to a NIDAs or an AFTRS or Conservatorium of Music.
I am woman, hear me roar, and numbers too big to ignore.
But she can sing. She's won AFIs and actor awards and Helpmans.
I'm placing you under arrest for murder.
Pull the other one, Spud.
She's directed scores of episodic TV, directed theatre on all the main stages in Australia. She's got publishing deals.
If I have to, I can do anything.
She's somebody that had a dream and actually followed it to its nth degree.
I've done a lot of things in my career, acting, writing, directing, producing, but there was one story that I kept coming back to. When I was about 5 years old, my mother would read to me the Henry Lawson book of short stories, and Drover's Wife was one of them, and it was our favourite. It's about a drover's wife sitting with her children in her shack, waiting for a snake to leave the hut and what she has to deal with while her husband is away. I saw my mother as that drover's wife. There was no father figure in our family, and it was just me and my mum. And I was that little boy in Henry Lawson's story. I was the protector of my mother.
It is you.
I'm just a drover's wife.
It's genius the way she's taken this, what I call a foundation story of Australia through this great Australian writer, Henry Lawson, and she's completely flipped it on its head.
Excuse my husband's manners, Mrs.
Johnson. Mrs. Joe Johnson.
To take something that I think is only 6 or 9 pages long, turn it inside out and, make it from a perspective of an Indigenous woman. It's pretty cool.
Cross me and I'll kill you. I'll shoot you where you stand and I'll bury you where you fall. I've reimagined it and I've applied my family's personal story throughout it. So it's connected through me. I'm going to have someone do something silly down there.
What she's experienced and what she's had to overcome makes her story all the more extraordinary.
I grew up in Mergen, in the South Burnett, southeast Queensland. Small country town. Black mum, white dad. I'm the youngest of 7. The relationship with my dad isn't like a father-daughter relationship. He had another family, a white family, and so he sort of wasn't around or had much of an influence in my upbringing. But him and my mother did have 6 children together. We were the secret family and it was all hush-hush. But I think, small country town, everyone knew. And my mother did turn to the bottle, and I understood why she did that, because I saw her loneliness. I guess I started to get an alcohol problem when I was about 9 years old, and it was just purely because I wanted to leave the pubs and go home, so I'd drink my mum's drinks. It was me making sure that we got home from the pub. It was me putting her to bed. And I was her shoulder to cry on, and I had a lot of responsibility on me as a child. When I was at school, I hated it. I was a C average student, but if I could perform something or recite something, I was fine. I always saw myself that I was going to be on stage. I always saw myself that I was going to sing. And I would always say to my mum, I want to act, I want to be like Doris Day. And my mum would say, well, you're black, you're a woman, you're from the bush, you've got to be real here. You're either going to be a nurse or you're going to work at the meatworks.
Her head was always in the clouds, even in Mergen, even with the backdrop of everything that was going on in her lives. She would dream of other things, and she just hung on to that.
The boyfriend's moved in. It's a big party. Everyone's either gone home or they've flaked out. And he's got her in the back room and he's shouting at her.
There are some themes that are in a lot of Leah's work. Domestic violence is one of them.
Come here! Oh, stop it!
Leah has a personal connection to that.
I guess there was this cycle that was forming in my life with drinking, boys very young. I experienced domestic violence for the first time when I was 14 because I was in a relationship.
I'll smash you that much. No one will what you use.
She grew up thinking that domestic violence was the norm. That's all she knew what love was.
I had a teenage pregnancy, fell pregnant when I was 17. My daughter Amanda, although no one believes me, but my daughter was planned. I turned 18 in August. My daughter was born in September of that same year and my mother died in October. I spiralled down dark because my mother was kind of the buffer. Vodka was my poison. I had suicidal thoughts. And I thought, well, if I did that, all of this pain, all of this confusion, I said, doesn't it all just go away? But I thought, if I killed myself and my daughter survived, I said, who's going to understand her? That put me back onto the path of, this isn't right for me. This little voice said, didn't you want to be an actor? And I went, wow. My mum's dead, so there was nothing keeping me in this town. So I packed up my little Datsun Sunny, kick-started it, and away I went.
Leah came down to do some local theatre in Brisbane.
Thank you.
Hey, can I grab a glass of water, thanks? Leah and I both had cousins that were trying to put us together. So I roll up for this blind date and she's just stunning, beautiful, and I thought, geez, I've kicked a goal here. And, pretty much from that night on, we've been together.
If I'm on my own, it'll be a little bit wanky.
You can't talk about Leah without talking about Bane. And he doesn't like you talking about Bane because he wants you to talk about Leah.
My mother's Aboriginal and my dad's white Aussie. So Leah and I have similar backgrounds, which is obviously, in part why we've always got on and understand each other.
He was a kickboxer. I was brought up with boxing, so we really related on that.
Bane was such a gentle person. Even though he could probably put anyone he wanted to on life support, he would never have done that.
In our very early stages of our relationship, when we did have our first dispute, he said, stop. He said, you want me to hit you. And that just blew my mind. And I went, oh my God, I'm so sorry, you were so right. And it actually made me then go in and check myself. Bruises heal It took me nearly 12 to 15 years to psychologically get that pattern out of my life, you know, and Bain is such a beautiful human being. He stuck around and worked me through that.
Sign that, and I'll fax it off when I get back in the office.
Bain was 110% behind me, chasing my dream. And we realised that we were sort of pretty good together. I'd dream up stuff and he would, you know, dream it up further and believed in it and would chase money. So then he got into the producing side of things. Got to check camera B, just make sure we got the right best of the best shot.
If you would have said to me 20 years ago, you know, you'd be producing films or TV or plays or negotiating publishing deals, it'd be laughable.
It's all done, all approved.
Because I never came from that background at all. I'm not a lawyer, I never went to uni. And I'm a bit like the Chili Palmer character in Get Shorty, you know. All of a sudden I accidentally stumble into this sort of Hollywood game or whatever. You know, I've got my name out in the car park, you know.
We just need to organise that war documentary at some stage.
Yeah, we've got to chase that heap of YouTube and Twitter stuff.
I truly believe that he was a gift from the ancestors because he's just been such a support.
He could see the brand that could be Leah. He could see the potential of where she could thrive.
So I'm catching up with Screen Queensland next week. I understood the language and what Leah was talking about. I was listening to her dreams and aspirations. And then it took off. And then all of a sudden I had a tiger by the tail. I couldn't let it go.
Oh, I can't look.
And so away she went.
If you're scared, you should let them know.
Who's scared? I'm not scared. I'm just terrified.
Yeah, terrified.
I remember her moving to Sydney quite early on, and then suddenly she's in police rescue. And that was brilliant.
Take it away, Swifty.
Last load to go, Pete.
So here she was with her dreads on a mainstream show, successful show, and it's like, there she is. She's already doing it.
Not very often I say this. You were good.
Thanks.
She's not even an Aboriginal character. She had changed the stereotypes right from then. You know, she's a shapeshifter.
No. It's going to be okay, all right?
All right.
All we want to do is just talk. When I finally did arrive to Sydney, what box do we put Leah? Her skin's fair, but her tongue is black and political and an activist. What do we do with her?
And didn't little Leah Purcell look grand?
In the late 90s, Leah wrote and directed her one-woman show, Box the Pony. And essentially it was the story of her life, well, at least, you know, her childhood.
It's this epic 4-generational linear story of grandmother, mother, Leah, daughter.
Come here, Steph. Bring baby Jess. Without you, Bub, I'd have been in the gutter.
My grandmother was part of the stolen generations, and we think she may have been stolen around the age of 5. She was shipped out of her traditional lands in Mitchell and ended up at Cherbourg, Bramber Mission. My mum, I look at her as that lost generation where they were punished if they spoke language or they spoke about culture or they practiced culture. So she wasn't allowed to be black, but yet she still wasn't accepted in the white world.
Used to initiate you to become a man. That's all gone now. Now they get drunk and they flog the women to prove that they're a man. And we stand there and take it to be initiated as women.
Box the Pony was such a crucial part in Leah's storytelling because it was the moment where she realised that she had to start writing her own stories to show the truth. She was putting herself out there every night to lay herself bare.
Fly away, Bungaburra! Fly away!
She did that show at the Opera House and it was, you know, it was a tour de force. And then her career just went off the dial.
Thank you.
Lantana, Somersault Jindabyne, you know, great Australian films.
What's Mummy doing?
Smiling.
And, you know, not necessarily all these roles were written as Indigenous characters. So I think it was a breath of fresh air, actually, to see Leah sort of really take these roles with such guts and make them her own.
I can take care of myself.
I get lost in it. You live another life when you become a character. It's how you move your audience. When I got my first laugh when I was 15, I went, the power in that, to make people laugh, to make people cry.
You really think I'm going to let you leave me here with 4 kids on my own when 2 of them are your spoiled brats?
I've been very blessed to be in the company of great actors, great directors. I'm an observer. I never sit in the green room. I'm always watching. I'm always learning.
She's always wanted to direct, and in the early 2010s, she feels like she's ready to make that transition. So she directs on Redfern now.
Redfern now, it was extraordinary. You know, first show to be written, directed, produced by First Nations artists.
It was just perfect because you weren't afraid to ask dumb questions. You weren't afraid to go, oh, I'm not too sure, can anyone give me a helping hand?
And then Clever Man comes up shortly after that. So she directed across both of those series. From then on, the industry knew her as a wonderful sort of writer-director.
It's been a lot of non-Indigenous writers writing our scripts for a long time. But now the catchphrase is nothing about us without us.
I know why you're here.
That bitch rung you too?
Yeah, I seen her a week ago. She looked ready to go off again.
I need your help.
There's a maturity now in this Australian storytelling about the Indigenous experience. A large reason for that is it's blackfellas telling blackfella stories. And there's blackfellas in front of the camera and behind.
Slowly, we're giving the power of the voice back to the individual, back to mob, back to our people, so that we can be the truth tellers.
In 2005, we were doing the Jindabyne film with Ray Lawrence, and Leah said, I love this landscape.
We went up to Mount Kosciuszko and took in the beauty, and then all of a sudden I yelled out, and this is true, I yelled out, I said, I'm coming back, you know, I love this landscape, I think I'm going to do a film, I think it's going to be Drover's Wife, and I think I'm going to be in it. And it echoed around the mountain range.
Fast forward like a decade, and the opportunity that we got through the Belknaves Foundation in Belvoir.
We decided to underwrite the development of a script every year by an Indigenous writer that could be developed as part of Belvoir Theatre's programming, and if it was basically good enough, it would then be actually scheduled in the theatre. That's exactly what happened with Drover's Wife.
Flowers for Leah Purcell to admire and $20,000 to fund her dream to write a major stage play.
That was the first time, really, that I actually got money and I went, you mean I can actually just sit down and write? So it was actually luxury.
Stacked a heap for you, too.
I trust no one with the stacking of my heap. Got a black fella to do it once before and the bastard stacked it holler and a snake got in under.
Once the play got up in 2016 at Belvoir Street, it was a wild ride. Sold out in 4 days, standing ovations every night.
I said to Leah, there's a film in this as well. So she was writing a screenplay during rehearsals of the play. We submitted that to Screen Australia. And then we negotiate a book publishing deal with Penguin Random House.
As upset and disrespected as he knows Molly may feel right now, he continues. He must. Everything was sort of helping the other to be written or to come to fruition or to inspire me. Their love was deep as the highest peak to the lowest valley and as wild as the snowy river. Stop! Molly walks to her shotgun, which rests on the veranda post. I was going to semi-retire after I did the Drover's Wife play because I wanted to focus on my writing and directing and just really get my head around that. And then, of course, fate steps in and I get a phone call and they say, we want you for Wentworth. So you're going to get Jenkins' charges dropped. And I want Ruby Mitchell transferred out of Wentworth.
What's she got to do with it?
Nothing. She's my sister and I need to protect her. I was given the opportunity to collaborate on my character's story. And, of course, the Indigenous component. So I went, gosh, what a gift. I made some pretty dumb choices. Done a lot of things I regret.
She didn't look like an Aboriginal woman just being put in the place because she's an Aboriginal woman. She's too strong an actor for that. She really claims it, not as an Aboriginal woman, but as an actor.
Fight's about to start. It can wait. Go away. But I loved Wentworth. My gosh, the storylines. Like, we had emotional storylines because we're women, and then we had kick-ass, badass moments, boss bitch moments where we're beating people. Ruby's out. You're fighting me. When we come to the big fight scene at the end of season 6, I said, put my stunt double in as the woman that I have to fight and let us go. And I said to her, you're half my age, I'm going to go full on, you go half pace. And I said, it'll be brilliant. And we touched hands and mate, bang, bang, bang. It was unreal. So what was beautiful about Wentworth is when I moved down to Melbourne to do the show for 3 months, my apartment was just this writing hub, and I was finishing the screenplay for the film.
A story. Please, Ma. Please? No, Yarika, you tell your story.
I call it a contemporary songline that she's creating for herself. And I think she has really crafted a new way of telling story.
In cultural ways, you have that thread of a songline which connects you to country, connects you to family, connects you to culture. The Drover's Wife, Henry Lawson's version, is part of my songlines. My DNA is within it, and I've sung up business on it. I sung up the play, I sung up the novel, I sung up the movie.
Horse dead in the yard.
So this was Leah's first feature film that she directed, big budget.
It's a war injury. Plays up every now and again.
Animals, kids, period piece, first film, writing, directing, lead actor.
My crime, missus. Existing whilst black.
Doing all of her own fight stuff. She is literally getting, you know, the crap kicked out of her, gets off the ground, looks through a monitor.
The night before we were supposed to shoot Drover's Wife, I said, what are we doing? I said, can we go home? I said, let's go. We haven't unpacked. Let's just get out of here.
She was bricking it, as they say, and then it sort of came and it sort of went.
You know, and he said, so let's sleep on it. Let's get out there tomorrow, have a go, and see what happens.
And everywhere she looked, she had an ally. And so I reminded her all of that, and then she was right.
Kill swiftly.
There's something very different about the Drover's Wife film. You know, it's not just your stock standard sort of Western.
One action straight through, shoulder and hip.
And it's not just an Indigenous perspective, but it's as much a woman's perspective as anything. And we rarely see it.
My children need me. They need their mother. I love yous.
Love you, Mama!
Always with you.
For Leah, the songline's not quite finished. And so I'm excited by where they're going to go next.
Is it going to be a good thing to go through Molly 2020's journey?
Exactly what I was going to say.
Excellent. We are talking about the TV version of The Drover's Wife, and that's set in 2020. So it's exciting that this classic story that I've reimagined has lots of life in it still. And I like the fact that she's torn, like she didn't grow up on country. She's a proud black woman, but she's just not sure how to step into that.
Leah's reminded of the opportunities her mother and her grandmother didn't have and what she's afforded now, and she always says it would be criminal if I didn't grab it with both hands by my teeth and take these advantages. And then your love interest is going to throw a spanner in there, or in a good way. Mate, I've worked in the building game. Leah and I have both worked in meatworks. We've done real jobs for a living, you know, like no disrespect to the mob that do that, but we're very happy doing what we're doing. Thank you very much.
Today I'm off to Government House and I am receiving a Member of the Order of Australia award medallion. Little thingy-majiggy. Oh God, I'm hopeless. I don't know what I'm getting. Anyway, I'm getting something. What the arts opens up to our wider audiences is their ownership of Australia's Indigenous heritage.
So I'm just popping this on so that Her Excellency can put your medal in position.
Because I believe that if you call Australia home, this ancient culture is yours as well to be proud of and to participate in. It's nothing to be ashamed of or say that it doesn't exist. This is who we are, and it's mighty.
Miss Leah Marie Purcell.
Aboriginal people have survived since time began. We've lived through 2 ice ages, and we're going to survive again. But we just got to empower ourselves, empower each other, grasp the opportunity of education and back ourselves in that, and then become the best at that.
For significant service to the performing arts, to First Nations youth and to women, Miss Purcell.
You've got to know where you come from to know where you're going, and it gives you strength to continue the fight that unfortunately has still a long way to go.
Oh, cameras. Sharpen up this. Hey, lady.
Someone said, oh, geez, that Leah Purcell's ambitious. Yeah, and we have every right to be. It's okay to be ambitious. It's okay to lead. It's okay to have your black voice. It's okay to have your black lens. That's what's going to change our future.
Tonight, we celebrate one of Australia's most diverse artists, Leah Purcell. Very exciting.
I just think she's at the beginning of it now, because you can see her confidence in her skill as not only an actor, director, writer. So I can't wait to see what's ahead and what she's going to bring, because I think she's only just getting started.
I cannot think of a more fitting way to acknowledge her contribution to Australian film and culture than with this star on the Australian Film Walk of Fame.
That's very cool.
I've always dreamt of Hollywood. Ever since I was a little kid, I've always wanted to play the Hollywood game. So one of my big dreams that I want to fulfill, and I want to tick it off, is I want to go to Hollywood. I want to make a Hollywood movie. I want to be a box office success. Yeah, one of my dreams was to conquer Hollywood. I don't know, no, not really. Like, do I need to conquer it? I've already done that. I'm happy with where I sit in my country. I really love telling our Australian stories and growing our talent. Mate, I come from the dirt and I'm proud, and I would go back there and I would climb out of it again. You know, I'm not afraid to fall down and get back up. I think, you know, just be brave. Life's for living, so just get out there and have a go. You know, I hope to be doing this till the day I die. She heard,
Run, Daisy, run. Run, Daisy, run. They were the last words Mama had said. Run to the highland. Run through the storm. You better run, girl. Oh, run, girl. You better run, girl. Oh, run, girl, because the white man, he's riding high.
Wandi yara mentane nai. Karamuli kain kan kai. Tala yanne yanne. Wandi yara mentane nai. Karamuli kain kan kai. Tala yanne yanne.